Daryl Andrews, Coach D. I'm a workforce development innovator and consultant. Have been doing this work now for 20 plus years, and consider it an honor to do this work. So, Darian, let's get your brief introduction. You know, it's about everybody here knows you, but
Hi, everybody. My name's Darian, and since March, I've been acting as the interim EARN deputy since the last deputy moved on to a new position.
okay, good. Okay. And Stephanie, again, we all know you, but why not?
I'm Stephanie Prickle. I'm the director of programs. I don't believe I got to meet Herky or Pierre, so wonderful to see you and
Okay,
meet
yeah,
you. I
see,
know
there
so
we
much about you.
yeah. And they're good people. Good people. All right, Judy, Santiago.
Good morning. Program officer with SCPAworks, and I oversee EARN is one of the programs I oversee.
Okay, very good. All right, and Sean, why don't you jump in, my man?
Good morning, Sean Stambro, Project Director for South Central PA, WIOA, and EARN programming.
Yeah, you got your hands full.
Nah,
Yeah,
I got a good team, man.
light work, right? All right,
Right.
and Bridget Geyer.
My name is Bridget Geyer, and I'm the EARN program supervisor for Dauphin, Lebanon, Perry, and Juniata County.
And her team absolutely loves her. No doubt about it. You got a great team. And Bridget Wolf.
Good morning. Thank you for distinguishing between Bridget Geyer and Bridget Wolf.
Yes.
I'm Bridget Wolf. I'm a regional director with Equus Workforce Solutions. I've been with the company now for around 14 years, and responsible for Indiana, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and Nebraska.
Okay.
But I actually live in Ohio,
Okay. Oh, you live in Ohio. Okay. What part of Ohio are you in?
Columbus.
Oh, you're in Columbus. Okay, good. Okay, very good. All right, let's go.
Usually this group growls at me because they know I'm going to say home of the Ohio State
Oh, here we
University,
go.
and then I get kicked off the call.
Don't start talking football, because then you will be here for 30 years. And I've been to the Ohio State, so I understand. That is an incredible football stadium up there. So, and Mr. Campbell, how are you doing, sir?
Outstanding, outstanding. Pierre Campbell, leadership associate, leadership coach. I just love what I do. I don't know. I don't know this is the closest thing to football that I can get. So hey, I can't hit anybody in my life anymore. But I can develop people and I can help people to get to where they want to be in life. So hey, that's why I do what I do here, and I love this team.
Yeah, well, he played football, and I'm glad I played the time that he was not on the field, because he was pretty intimidating. So, all right, and then last but not least, Herky.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Harki. I'm one of the consultants here with Coach T. I also worked I was a program manager handling the WIOA, youth and adult programs at Chester County, CareerLink with EDSI, and I'm also a mindfulness coach.
Okay, very good. So today, obviously, we're here because first of all, I'll say thank you for this opportunity to work with your team. We've been working with the team for a while now, and it's almost like a little bit of a family affair every time we get together. It's really nice, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not trying to say this in any way, shape, or form negative about anyone else, but it's not always the case. We go into some places and it can be somewhat contentious, but that's because that culture has been established a certain way, and but we have success. We get them where we need to get them, but it's like you got to tear down some walls to get there, and that's fine. That's our job, our task in those cases. And so today we're just going to have a leadership discussion and talk a little bit about some of the things we've witnessed and seen and experienced, but then we want to hear from you. So my hope is to keep this within 35 minutes in that time frame, because I know you all probably have other meetings and things of that nature to go to and other responsibilities. So, but I want to start off with something. I hope I can pull this up, because I've been having some problems with my technology recently. Let me see. Hopefully, let me see. Okay. All right. I think we're okay. All right, just 1 second here. And also, I didn't mention this before, but last week I just got back from an Alaskan cruise. So I'm still kind of like in my Alaska mode. And yes, I did see a grizzly bear. And yes, Darian, I did keep up with my commitment. Thank you. I stuck my foot in the water. That's enough of a polar plunge. That's as far as I'm going. All right. So can y'all see this okay? All right. So what I want to mention real quick is, and I want to thank, Bridget Geyer, Janae, and Darian for this because they reminded the staff of something that we were working on. And one thing we always, just to let you know, as far as our company and organization, we understand the power of mindset a lot, growth mindset, fixed mindset. We also know a lot, analyze a lot when it comes to neural pathways. And because we believe that when you're working with people in particular in this capacity, paradigm mindset plays a significant role because we're trying to lift people up to certain ways of thinking. So the way we see and view things are important. So one thing we started recently was a thing called weekly wins. And so I'm going to kind of talk about that for just a moment. And we wanted the team to really understand the psychological benefits of reframing, situations. Because in workforce development, we have things that come our way frequently. And so, we need to be mentally prepared to how we handle them. It's almost like we need to be proactive. And y'all know this better than I do. So, and so I want to thank again them for the follow-up, but I want to give you a few. I want to share a few with you that were emailed to me because what I shared with the team was this. You know what? You could be winning and think you're losing if you're not keeping the score, which is really, it's just the way it is. And so I want to understand you are winning. There's some things you're doing, but if you don't think about it, the next problem is going to be the most important. That's going to be the significant thing. All right. So here's just a few, and then we'll enter into our discussion. This was from Lizette. Again, I'm not going to read it. You're intelligent, smart people. I don't want to insult your intelligence, but this was really nice what she said. She said she reached some heart recognition from her team. And then she also threw in their mom, the mom piece. She got some beautiful flowers for Mother's Day, so appreciate that from the set. And then Kyla sent this one, she helped obviously 3 people, find jobs. So kudos to her for that. And, and so she said she loves the engagement that's going on. And then one other weekly win is from Tony, it said, what she talked about with the work with the VR cohorts, and all of that, and she's learning various skills, definitely a win. And, so what's nice about that is you see that the team, not only understands the assignment when we're doing these things, but they're actually seeing the benefit of it. And I just want to share that with you because as we start our conversation, because that's the goal. We want the team to win. You know what I mean? And we want the leaders to win. We want the organizations to win. So to have the team participate in this was really, really powerful. So, and so what I'm going to do now, is kind of turn over to Pierre, but I just want to let you know, it's been a great team to work with. We have, because we haven't had any, what I call hiccups. Like, we do some of these programs and it takes us months to even get on first base. When you agree, Pierre and Herky, I mean, just like it can literally take months, but that's not the case from what we've seen with this team. So I'm going to put this guy up. He looks a little different now because they had a haircut back then. And what we're going to do, I'm going to share some things to think about, but I want Pierre to lead us in a discussion. And like I said, I want to be careful with the timepiece so we're not, but to really get your thoughts on some things from a leadership perspective or just an operational perspective that you're seeing, that you may want to have a discussion about that we may even need to know that can, enhance our ability to be a resource for you. So I'm going to stop there and turn it over to Pierre, and he'll lead us from there. And this won't take long because, again, we have a lot of things, we want to try to touch base on. But this is how we are able to not only come in and do what we do, but learn from you as far as what you need in order to make this an efficient and effective system. So I'll stop that share. P, if you want to jump in and kind of lead us.
That's excellent. And I love the fact that you talked about winning, and sometimes we don't necessarily know that we're winning. Uh, but sometimes, what we have to do is come back and huddle up. And I feel like this is like a huddle up for us to huddle up and come together. So the first thing I always share with leaders is the fact that every single one of us is going through something. Am I right about it, y'all? Every single one of us is going through something right now, whether it's you or someone in your house or your direct reports, your coworkers. Every single one of us is going through something. So when we understand that and we get that in our mind as leaders, we start to have a empathetic, compassionate perspective on who we're helping and even managing up our leader as well. And so then we start to communicate a little bit more effectively, and we start to think about things from the perspective of maybe how can I communicate effectively with my manager? And then how can I communicate effectively with the direct reports and the people that I'm working with on a day-to-day basis? So I want to ask you all this question, really quick question. What's more important, perception or reality? Look at Stephanie. Stephanie's like,
they're like, Pierre, I haven't had my cup of coffee yet.
it doesn't matter. Let's go, Bridget. Wolf,
I'm going
Bridget.
with reality.
Okay,
Yeah.
you go with reality. Who else?
Mhm.
All right, Janae, I know Sean, you always get into this kind of conversation, so let's go.
Yeah. Man, you know, I want it to be reality,
Mm.
but I think the issue is that perception seems to be the
Get it?
thing that, you know,
Mhm.
Yep.
it comes to the
Mm.
forefront, and
Mm.
that's part of the issue.
Mm.
Got it. That's
Mm.
good. And then Darian said perception. Janae said perception. Who's left? We got
Mm.
we
You
got
got
Bridget.
you got Judy.
Pryor. What did you say? Perception or reality? Which one's more important? Which one do you think is carrying
Okay.
more?
Okay, Bridget Guy said perception.
Oh, okay, there we go. And then Stephanie, what did you say?
I think I'm going to go with reality.
Okay, all right.
Mm. Mhm.
So this in lies, and then Judy said reality. Love it. All right, excellent. And this is perfect.
Mhm.
This solidifies the point in that we all think differently.
Mhm.
And because we all think differently, coming together as a team and actually communicating effectively with each other is vitally important to the success of our organization as a team. And when I say our, just because I mean, we've been working with you all for a long time now, so we're all a team. And with that being said, a lot of times when we're communicating with people, whether it be leadership or people that we're working with, we're not thinking about their perspective.
Mm. Yep.
So if
Mhm.
you think about their perspective, remember what we started out with, everybody's going through something right now,
Mhm.
right? If that's what leaders are supposed to do, we're supposed to be thinking about other people's perspective. Don't get me wrong, we're not denying and saying, put your baggage at the door and walk in. Remember that old saying,
Mhm.
leave the
Yeah.
baggage at the door. That's an old saying that we used to say back in the day. Now, that's not what we're saying here. What we're saying is that everyone is going through something, which means as a leader, we have to start thinking about other people's perceptions
Mhm.
because the perceptions create reality. Their perceptions create reality. There's something I always say is, Coach D always talks about this, is my response is my responsibility.
They've heard that.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
I shared that with the
Excellent.
team multiple
And
times.
if you think about that, just imagine right now if we were all taught that from birth. My
Mm.
response is my responsibility. Then guess what? All of the things that we have in the world we would have more people taking ownership and
Mm.
taking accountability for their
Mm.
response to things. And that's what personal leadership is all about. And so the foundation of what I really wanted to make sure that we shared and we talked about is making sure we think about things and think about each other and
Mm.
everyone that we're working with from a different perspective because
Mm.
their perception is their reality.
Mhm.
And that is the truth. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
So I have another question for you. All right. What is the number one most important thing to you as it pertains to your team right now
Mhm.
in leadership? What is the number one most important thing to you as it pertains to your team right now?
Mhm. Is this something, P, you would like to see in your team, or something you would? What is it? Okay.
Stephanie is about to. Let's see if she jumps out. That's exactly what. Go ahead.
So one of the things that I think is very important, and I try to ensure that I always do this, is to support the team. So like Judy just recently took over some additional duties, and I know that we all have a lot of work, but with budget cuts, like you have to do what you have to do. So I want to
Yep.
make sure she's supported and not burnt out, and anything I can do extra to help, I want to make sure I can. Same with also supporting Bridget and Sean and Darian and all the team members, because I know that they have all the hard work that they're doing. Plus, they also have like HR stuff and
Yeah.
like client
Yep.
stuff. So it's like you're
Yeah.
running the whole world there. So I want to make sure that they feel safe to when
Yeah.
they talk with us,
Mhm.
that they feel
Mhm.
supported too.
Perfect. So you just
Mhm.
brought up a valid point of what we're going to talk about a little later too. Anyone else? What is the number one most important thing? Go ahead, Bridget Wolf.
I will say the person um is the most important, because as you started off, everyone's going through something, and if we're not healthy, we can't be productive, or it's more difficult to be productive. And so the person has to be number one. But in my position also, I did a but and everything. I try not to do buts because it dismisses everything you said before that. So I should say and. Um, uh, so the person is number one, and to me also, performance is number two. And that's because of the accountability that I feel like in my position that I'm held. But it's not always the performance on the paper, but the performance of how we're taking care of our people.
Mhm. I
Excellent.
like that.
Excellent.
I
And
like
Herc, you
that.
remember what Stephanie said earlier, just a second ago. One more time, Bridget, I appreciate that, because when you went straight from person to making sure that the performance is there as well. Anyone else? One more person like to share. What's the one thing that's important? What do you think?
Somebody from the Equus team?
Anyone? What's the one thing that's important? The number one thing that's important to
I'm
you?
sorry, Bridget, you were the Equus team. Bridget
She's
Wolf.
very much part of the
Yeah, I'm
Equus
sorry
team.
about that. Sean or Darian or Janae,
Yeah,
Bridget
I mean, I
Geyer.
think Bridget kind of. I'm trying to think of some, because the person thing is something I wholeheartedly agree with. I need to make sure you're okay,
Yeah.
first and foremost. And so I'm glad Bridget said that, especially
Mm-hmm.
since she's my direct supervisor. So
Yeah.
that hit
Yeah.
home. That
Mhm.
hits home on a couple of different levels. So hopefully somebody can jump in here while I can think of, but accountability right now for me is the most important thing. I'll just say
Yeah.
that. That's
Hmm.
kind of in the forefront for me right now.
Excellent.
Very good.
All right. So,
Hey, Pierre, can I say one thing real quick? And
yes,
I want to loop this all together real
yeah,
fast. So don't take a second,
yeah,
because I'm very conscious of time. And
absolutely.
Stephanie queued us up with this. But one thing that you all saying with this human piece, and this is so important in workforce development, is psychological safety.
Mhm.
And that word is like becoming a big word across the board now. Because when you start looking at the human experience, that's all it is. That person feels safe, being able to communicate thoughts, ideas, or to know that you care about them on a personal level. And that's like nowadays, that's becoming a huge thing. So I'll digress, but I just want to mention that because it kind of wraps itself in everything Bridget was saying, Sean was saying, I think what Stephanie was saying.
Yeah. And so that's perfect, Coach. And Herky,
Mm,
the reason why I said Herky is because I know Herky has specific
mm,
scenarios and experience in the area of dealing with all of this weight, all of these different responsibilities. Kind of what Sean said, he has all of these different
mm.
responsibilities. Herky, what are your thoughts on what Stephanie said earlier? And then actually Bridget came back and actually added to it.
Yeah, I think it's so perfect. The fact that you started out with, the safety, the support, and the burnout, looking at the person, the performance, because even in my own experience, what I noticed was that when you are operating from this we versus me model as a team too. One of the biggest success factors was constantly reiterating that I care about the person as a leader, and as a team, we care about each other. So just knowing what is the person and genuinely, like being really genuine about it. And when you talk about performance, I felt like when I faced any resistance, it was because maybe they felt that they're being talked at. So then I was very conscious of bringing everyone together, understanding the why. Why are we setting these goals? Why they're important, and how do we go about it? It is not, it is us that will come together with and taking active participation and feedback from each of the employees so that they understand and they are the front, in the front line, so they know directly interacting with clients, giving feedback, taking it to the business services with the career advisors. And so I feel like when you are all in that environment together and you're trying to lead, you also know each other's values, what's important to each other, doing frequent check-ins. It just creates, one thing that really worked when I was there as a team was we did this. Wednesday was our day that the whole team came together in the afternoon, and that was like almost mandatory because we would also have some fun, but we would brainstorm everything that was going on with everyone, and it was a shared thing that we all try to problem solve together. So and that's what, in fact, I've been getting very good feedback about, when I'm coaching too, that they feel held, they feel supported, there is cohesion in the team, and the work is impactful and purposeful, which is why a lot of people do especially this type of work. So yeah.
Yep.
So
And
good.
just let you know, when she's the perspective she's come from, because she was a manager and a leader over in Chester County. So she's sharing how, and also something she did not mention, she won awards for retention. You know what I mean? Am I correct, Herky? You had some retention awards over there, that you won?
Retention, client services, yes.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the reason why we're like having this discussion about people and perception and reality is because at the end of the day, we have so many different thoughts going through our head. Like even right now, think about right now. I'm talking to you, we're talking to each other, but we got like 10 different thoughts going on. What we're gonna cook for dinner, what we're gonna have, what we're gonna have for lunch, and I have all these other projects going on. So one of the things that Coach D, as a team, we always do with our coachees is making sure that you come first and understanding that self-care is vitally important to the success of you. And then, as a byproduct of taking care of you as a leader, your direct reports, your team, everyone that's working with you everybody's gonna be okay. So you put you first. So with that being said, I want to make sure that I kind of turn it, but we got 9:55 right now. I'm going to turn it back over to Coach D, but I want to show you something. We started out with everybody's going through something. And then we talked about perception versus reality. We all kind of saw where we were with thinking about what is more important, perception versus reality. And then Herky talked about the fact that, okay, here are some things that she used to help her team become successful. And then now watch this. If your team or your people don't know what's the most important thing to you as it pertains to them, everybody's guessing.
Yep.
Okay. So there's three things that we want to do as leaders is be clear, consistent, and concise in our communication with empathy. Clear, consistent, and concise in our communication. As we are clear, consistent, and concise, trust comes because of the fact that they have so much work on their back and you have so much work on your back. Clear, consistent, and concise in our communication. And I'm telling you right now, when we do this, and we do this with every organization that we work with, it's like remember what we said, it's a huddle. You walk away with this, and it's almost like a mastermind. Some of you said some things that is going to help you, the other teammates. And then what's going to happen? We're going to have another idea that comes out of this. So I just love the fact that we came together and do this. And then, Coach, hand it back over to you. But before we hand it back over to you, just say one thing. The one thing that's important to you, if you could, every single one of you write that one thing down, it would be preferably three things, but we're just doing that one thing. Write that one thing down and then go to your team or go to Sean, you already know what the one thing Bridget Wolf just said. So it's a little, but write that thing down and then go to your team and say, what do you think is the one most important thing? I guarantee they're going to guess wrong. They're going to guess something else other than what you're saying. And then that's going to open up a great dialogue for you and your team and even your peers, like with each other. That's what builds team, everybody being on the same page.
Love
Right?
that, man. Thank you. Thank you, Pierre. I appreciate that. And what we want to do was just kind of lay a little bit of a, hey, these are some from a leadership perspective. And that's all Pierre, most of his days are spent dealing with leaders, all in training and coaching and all of that. So we want to lay, because we do believe that, and this is kind of a sort of maybe a best practice, that coming together and brainstorming, like we only got 35 minutes, so we're probably speaking a lot more than we normally would. But coming together and brainstorming is important. One other little quick thing before I go into some other things I want to share with you, and again, we won't keep you much longer, is, and please write this down, and this is just from I've been in workforce development, 20 something years, but overall it's been a whole lot longer. And I worked in corporate America for a number of years. And one of my greatest mentors was a guy named Jim, what was Jim's last name? Jim Williams. And Jim, when I look at what he did as a leader, everyone, I want to be like him. So I want you to write this down somewhere for you. This is just for you. This is not this is not all of us together collectively. What will people years from now say about my leadership? Please write that down, because how you lead today will dictate how they see you later. And so that's just a leadership principle, because again, we're talking about leadership. Now, reeling it all in, and we're not saying this because this is what we got from everyone. We're saying this is just with leaders. Overall, like I mentioned, there were really hardly no complaints. Wouldn't you agree, Herky and Pierre? I didn't hear people saying this leader was this, and I'm saying that because I've heard that before. You know what I mean? This leader is overbearing. This leader is disrespectful. This leader, we have not heard that from anyone that we've coached individually or in our collective coaching program. So I got to do one little fun thing. You can go down to emojis and give yourself a heart for that. All right. Job well done, because it's something to have people, that many people. And that's pretty good. I hit that one, even know what I was doing. I didn't know it was going to float it up like that. There we go. That many people not complaining. Okay. But there's some other observations I want to get. Like with your team of people, we noticed that and I'm just going to lay these out, and we recorded it so you have access to it. They really care for the clients. When you agree, Pierre and Herky, would it really care? So if we're doing individual coaching or whatever, we see that in the team. But a couple of other things is they have multiple tasks, which can be somewhat overwhelming. And that's not unusual for workforce development. I've been in thousands of sites, because if somebody leaves, then somebody takes over the responsibility, things like that. That's not unusual. So what I'm going to ask you as leaders, just to be a little bit cognizant of, not that anyone is saying this, that I'm saying, is be careful of burnout. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you're just going to have people that's burnt out. They're not going to tell you they're burnt out. Nobody ever says, "Hey, do you know, I'm burnt out." But I think as a leader, we need to think about that. But again, the foundation of really caring for the clients is there. And the multiple tasks, again, that's pretty, would you all agree? I mean, by a thumbs up emoji or just general thumbs up in this industry, if you worked with it in any time, that's just kind of happens in this industry because of not the burnout, but having the multiple tasks, that it's just the way it is. So that there. And so I'm going to give you three things I think from a leadership perspective that we need to continually work on, that I think that, because the ultimate goal is to kind of create the climate that we want, to produce the outcomes that we want. I always say this: success with clients is about, and you've seen this in our training, all the different trainings around team building and synergy and things like that. Success in clients is really a byproduct of success in culture, the way we see things collectively. So as leaders, I would want to give this to you to think about. Three things that as a leadership team, I believe these three things, if really worked on, could really, continue to grow and strengthen your staff there. Number one is emotional intelligence. I just think that should become a best practice. Study it, understand it, in particular, two areas. Number one is self-regulation, and the other is self-awareness. And Pierre nailed this because self-awareness is, you know, how other people perceive how I'm interacting with them. Even though I may not see it, they do. But I'm aware of it. I'm aware, and some of us, I don't know if y'all would agree, but some of us have different personalities. Would you agree with that? Some of us can be amiable, some of us can be demonstrative, you know what I mean? Some of us could be, analytical, all these different things. So we need to understand, okay, I'm cool with that, but how does that affect that person I'm interacting with? Okay. So I agree, as a leadership team, it's always good to think about those things. Then here's another thing real quick, and I can talk a little bit more about this offline because it takes time, is that's a collaborative leadership approach. 2 or 3 or 4 things that we are going to collectively do as leaders. That could be from a core value standpoint, from a communication standpoint, things like that. When we ran our programs, and I've mentioned before, we were a workforce development provider as well. For many, many years, we had a collective framework of how we operated with staff and client that produced tremendous success in our programs because of the way we operated. So that's another thing, a collective. And then lastly, and I think y'all do this fairly well because I hear from the different team people I coach, just have like occasional virtual or live cups of coffee with them and don't even talk about work. How's it going? How's the family? Things like that, because that goes back to that human approach that everybody was talking about. So those are just some things to think about. But overall, from what we see, as with any organization, there's always we got to continually work at it. You're unique and special in the fact that you provide these kind of services to your team. So kudos to the leadership team. South Central Pennsylvania Works for even seeing, and then also obviously Equus for seeing the need to offer these kind of services to frontline staff, which is really something special. So I said 35 minutes. I'm still available time-wise. Would love to hear from you. Any thoughts, any feedback? Would just love to hear from you because, we're not coming in as the sage on the stage. We have a level of expertise, but you do this well. So are there any questions, any thoughts, any observations that you would like to share? And then we'll wrap this up. All right. After, the time we've been together. What about you, Bridget Geyer? What give us just little thoughts from your perspective?
I think that in general, I always enjoy these sessions. It always kind of brings me out of my focus zone and to say, one, you need to take care of you, but also learning how to best communicate and support my team, I think has been really useful. And, my biggest thing, I think, from all of it is, learning how to get my team to buy in on what they're doing. And I think, like I talked to Pierre at my last coaching session, and I think, over the last month or two, we're really starting to make that progress with them. And so it's been really refreshing to see. They're like, wow, like it's really awesome to get to see these participants achieve these things, and I'm part of that reason. And
Yes.
just continuing to fuel that and develop it is awesome.
Very good. Janae popped something in the chat feature. She says she's agreed. Janae, can you speak? Are you in a position to speak? Or
Yeah,
yeah. Go ahead.
I'm in the office.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with BG. I think when because we spoke on perception, and perception is very subjective, and a person's perception can be their reality. So, like being able to give your CEs a sense of purpose and really working with them and connecting with them in that way helps the motivational piece because they do get happy when participants achieve the goals that they have set out or when they can overcome a barrier that has been keeping them so stagnant for so long. For example, like I have one participant, she's been in program for quite some time and like she finally landed a job interview. So to go over that with her, and go over the process with her and like not necessarily hold her hand, but like be with her every step of the way, giving her motivational pieces and helping build her confidence and working with her on mock interviews and stuff like that. Like everyone cheered her on, and she was proud of that moment of just getting that job interview. And
That's awesome.
that reminds you of what you are
Well,
in this role for or in this industry for. So
yeah, very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And how about we hear from someone from the SCPA team? Stephanie, I guess I'll Fredco. What's your thoughts? We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I'm sorry. I really feel like this has been really helpful to remind people why we do the work that we do, but also to communicate, because there has been times that from an outsider's perspective, it appears that there hasn't been communication. So hearing this and like knowing that you all are communicating effectively makes me feel better. And I feel like it's somebody else's perspective, and that's reality in a way. Like, so I just wanted to say, like, I'm really thankful for this.
Okay, very, very good. Okay. And we'll just pick one more person, maybe Judy Santiago, because you've been in most of you've been, and again, I keep on, if there's questions too, it doesn't have, we're giving thoughts, but any questions or anything like that. All right, Judy?
Oh, I don't have any questions. I
Mm,
kind of just piggybacking off of Steph. I think it is nice to watch, to
mm, mm,
see, and
mm,
also for myself to kind of learn as well while I'm
mm.
watching. It's
Yes.
kind of enlightening for myself.
Yeah.
And it is nice to see the progression from when they started to now. And
Mm, mhm.
everybody's doing a very good job.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And I don't know if it's Sean or Darren. Now, Darren, you should have knew to all this with us, but if either you or Sean has something you want to share. Don't all speak at once.
I think she was waiting for me to go. I was waiting for
That's fine. Yeah. Yep.
Darian and I share the same birthday.
Okay.
So there's a lot
Great.
of similarities with
Greatness, man. Greatness. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Mm,
yeah, to Bridget Geyer's point, like it is a nice kind of reminder
mhm,
of it does like refresh me and kind
mm,
of bring me back to, hey, this is why we do it. And I'm also reminded by how thoughtful my staff is, how thoughtful my supervisors are. They really are. They do
mm.
care about not only, their teams, the participants all the way down. So it's always nice to kind of be reminded of that.
Yep. And just to let y'all know before we go, we're also, as we do the various coachings, in particular with the team that's right there in the front line, there's still ongoing conversation about, the motivational interviewing and coaching and the case notes and all those things, because one thing we try to communicate is that's part of the win. You know what I mean? When we're more efficient and more effective in the way we do our work, it's kind of like an athletic team that's trying to win a sporting event. When we are more effective, our chances of winning are greater. You know what I mean? Our chances of helping the clients are greater. So as we're trying to empower that staff member and team member, we're also trying to keep them on task as far as professionalism and the things that they need to do to achieve success on a day-to-day basis. Um, so this meeting was, kind of give an overview. We've seen a lot of great things. Thank you for the opportunity. We're still obviously working through this process, this cycle, but wanted you to have a conversation, see Pierre, see Herky, and see it's not just Coach D. These guys are in there doing their thing as well. And we know, I would say overall, the team is really has advanced. I agree with Judy. Stephanie, you were in that one meeting where, we asked a question and I just backed off and they took over. I was just an observer. And that shows you that camaraderie and synergy is taking place that in which they can help each other, advance in their piece. So, but I would leave you with this, and we've had conversations about leadership. This has to be a priority as well. When you look at culture is part team, but it's also a lot leader, because leaders are setting the core values, leaders are setting the vision, the mission, and the leader is always leading people to that true north. So, whatever, we're looking at with this piece, keep in mind, this should be an ongoing conversation. And it should be an ongoing conversation about what we desire. What do we desire in our culture? What do we desire in our staff? What do we desire in each other? Because this is a statement I use a lot, and I'll let you go. And that is, either we operate in intentionality, and this is just across the board. I see this every organization I work with. Either we operate in intentionality or we operate in chaos. We choose. So if we're not intentional, then chaos ensues because everybody starts coming up with their own, like Pierre talked about, their own perception of things. But if we if we operate in intentionality, like chaos is going to come, but intentionality, then we know these are the things that we want. That's why I said emotional intelligence and all these other things. So thank you all for your time. This is we're a few minutes over. I operate in military time, so I don't like to do that. But thank you all so much. And so, we won't say anything about sports teams, but go Penn State. Bridget, I'll throw that in there because this is Pennsylvania. And thank you all so much for your time. We're gonna, we have some more things coming up, some dates coming up where we're gonna be working. We got coaching sessions. The coaching sessions have been going well. We haven't had everybody involved with all of the coaching, but we're coaching quite a few of the folks, and folks' schedules get a little crazy and things like that. But overall, we've had a lot of coaching going on individually, and that's been going well. So, yep. So that's all we got. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. And I'll send this video over to you so that if you want to review and look at any aspect of it, we got it. All right. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.